On the automation tip, I would look at any business that's doing market disrupting technologies that are used in any kind of workforce. So instead of having a need for a computer, anything that's going to be cloud-based.
Or if you can find a company that's doing automation, especially in medical, because medical really hasn't been touched. And I think the Trump is going to. I think that the Republicans and the Trump administration get real aggressive about disrupting the medical field. Because he's already talking about putting. I think I said that. Talk about putting.
Push that Obamacare bullshit.
Yeah, but Super Triz, didn't the Trump administration talk about hospitals publishing their costs?
Yeah,
online.
So essentially, with hospitals, they basically want to give the consumer an opportunity to price shop. Because currently, with the hospital, depending on your insurance, there's a certain rate for insurance companies, a certain rate for Medicare, a certain rate for Medicaid. But then if you're a private pay, you pay significantly more, which is crazy, right? If you pay out of your pocket, you pay more than what they'll charge for the insurance company. So this is the reason why they want people to have an opportunity to price. Well, one of the reasons why, and this is basically a deflection. That's all this is.
Okay.
Deflection to try to put the blame on the healthcare institutions when obviously the economists in the White House, they know the exorbitant costs related to healthcare, and they know the primary reasons why healthcare costs so much is because you have individuals who don't pay for insurance but yet take advantage of the resources, primarily people who are homeless, indigent, as well as immigrants who actually take from the pot but don't contribute to it. And this is the reason why the cost has to be deferred to the consumer. And so they're just basically deflecting and putting the blame on healthcare institutions as far as instead of taking the blame themselves as the government.
Yeah, I think the last industry they really did that with was the airlines when they deregulated the airlines, when they actually had to have the airlines basically compete against each other for customers. I think this is the first. I think this is the opening salvo. I think this is the first step. What do you think, Super Trish?
I think this is the first step, and I think that because the healthcare industry is primarily listen, I'm going to say something that's going to be some people going to get offended.
Okay.
But the healthcare industry is primarily dominated by women, right?
Yeah.
So this is the reason why you have so much foolishness going on with healthcare, because the people that are healthcare employees don't advocate for themselves because they rather be passive as opposed to saying, hey, we're not going to stand for this. This is what we demand. Because what should have happened a long time ago is they should have said, you know what? We're not taking patients who are disruptive, because I guarantee if you look at healthcare, right, there's about 20% of the patients, actually, I would say 10% of the patients that require 90% of your attention as a healthcare provider.
Yeah.
And these are the disruptive patients. These are patients who generally, I won't say generally, but some of these patients don't have insurance. There are patients that do have insurance, but they're just disruptive and they're very demanding. And if you eliminate these problematic patients and then patients who don't contribute to the pot, you limit the ability for them to extract resources from the healthcare industry and say, okay, because you're not paying for it, this is what the services that you will be provided, as opposed to giving people liver transplants and kidney transplants that are intravenous drug users.
Okay.
So that's part of the problem right there.
Hey, Super Trish.
What's up?
I'm right there with you on this shit. Dog, they took the tasers from my security guards.
Okay.
You know where I work at. You know what I mean?
Got tasers where I'm at. So that's
these motherfuckers is barehanded now.
That's your facility's decision, because my facility still has tasers, and some facilities actually employ, like when I was in Houston, we actually had sheriffs in the ER.
Okay.
So it just depends on the facility.
That's
the popo is there, but
when you close the asylums, that's what you're gonna get.
Well, that's the reason why you have so many homeless, because they closed all them damn asylums like 15 years ago.
No, they closed those asylums during the Reagan administration, because I remember the facilities.
No, but I remember facilities in my lifespan. They still had some when I was younger. So this is something that I guess maybe they started the closures.
Yeah, and under well, actually before Reagan.
But they still had some facilities when I was younger.
BGS. How
Hey,
you gonna,
Super
how-
Triz, you know a nurse got arrested out here?
That happens all the time.
That happens all the time. Yeah, go ahead, D.
I know you noticed that most of the hospitals now, I
Mhm.
mean, like, especially here in Florida. I live in Florida.
Okay.
I stay in Florida when I'm not traveling.
Okay.
And there are about 3 hospitals here who own all of the hospitals throughout Florida. How you
Okay.
gonna get these people to compete with one another in the same fashion that you got the airlines to compete?
Well,
I don't think that's possible.
there's a couple of conglomerate. I used to work for one of the major conglomerates, and a lot of these conglomerates you don't even know they exist.
Mm.
So, for instance, the one I worked for when I was in Texas was called HCA, a Hospital Corporation of America, is publicly traded.
Mhm.
And just in the Houston area, they own probably about maybe 6 facilities just in Houston area.
Mhm.
And then you talk about like the West Texas or East Texas, maybe like 13 facilities, and then overall in the world they own like 187 last time I checked, 187 facilities.
Is
So you
that
got
for profit or non-profit?
okay, ACA is for profit. It's publicly traded.
Mhm.
And so then you have the one I work for now is a nonprofit, but we all nonprofit. No, nonprofit doesn't necessarily mean they're not trying to make a profit. So that's just
I work for nonprofit, and no, we always worry about the bottom line.
Yeah, what happened in the when they deregulated airlines, right? There were a lot of airlines that owned a lot of the business. But what happened is when they deregulated, you had a lot of startups that actually came out of nowhere, like JetBlue and Southwest, and there's a few others that just popped up, and it took over. So basically, when you deregulate, you kind of clear the land a little bit and give the opportunity for other more aggressive and cost-cutting hospitals actually pop up, or more systems actually pop up, like you have all kinds of technology that's not even implemented. What happens?
You seen that Indian guy that has that med box or whatever it's called?
So like the med box, it's not really widespread because it's for hospitals, it's not profitable. But the thing is that what happens when you just say you deregulate it and you have a company that pops up that actually sends out a med box where you actually do your own thing, right? Or
hey, BGS,
yes,
BGS.
sir.
I'm sorry. This is what I didn't want to put it on air, but like this is what my bosses, like the executives, are asking. North Dakota is like a free state when it comes to drones, automation.
Here we go with drones again.
I know. Okay, but make your point, because you interrupted me. Make your point.
Who do you know that can help me out with this shit?
Help you out with what?
The drones.
What are we talking about drones for?
Okay. All right. CRU. All right.
No, I'm talking about like Super Triz knows what I'm talking about.
I know, but it's
no, I don't.
No, what I'm saying, you interrupted me.
How fast?
No. CRU. Let me finish my point, okay?
All right. I'm sorry.
Calm down, man.
We're talking about the deregulation of the airline industry, BJ.
Yeah. In other words, we this is the first step. I recognize this because this is what they did with the airlines. So basically, once they have you list your prices on it in public, like most hospitals don't, then they'll pass another law that allows other newer systems to actually pop up and actually, the medical costs are too high, and we have technology that actually reduce healthcare costs and insurance costs and blah blah blah, and then you start this round of cost cutting.
But here's how it's different from the airline industry. That a majority of I won't say a majority of the people, but there's a large portion of people that have some type of medical insurance, HMO, PPO. And they have like provider networks that they have to go to certain facilities.
Yeah.
Now, if these smaller facilities can pop up and offer, some type of cost cutting measures and say, hey, we can provide this service for cheaper, that may be an option as well. But I think the problem is going to lie is that when they start accepting what they're going to find is that a lot of the hospitals have to accept Medicare and Medicaid. you know, because, and then when you accept Medicare and Medicaid, there's certain guidelines you have to adhere to. You have to take a certain number of what you call pro bono patients, and you have to, you know, you can only charge so much for certain things, and you know, the little man, like okay, so like in my facility, we get courted by some of the pharmaceutical companies, and so they'll come in and they'll offer like certain products, and some of these products you actually need to actually facilitate high quality care. Okay. But unless you're going to be able to buy them in bulk, the cost is going to be exorbitant. And then on top of that, you have to buy some of the equipment that goes with it. You have to train personnel to utilize some of this equipment. You know, so like it's a big capital investment.
So say I have a startup, a hospital startup that's going to use all this brand new technology, right? And I'm going to make it public, right? And we start off with something like, say, Amazon. That started an online bookstore, okay? That leverages the internet and leverages technology and this, that, and the other, okay? As a startup, I'm gonna use all the newfangled technology, medical technology, as to cut costs. Now, in the first couple years, it wouldn't be very much movement, but as technology gets better and better and better, guess what's gonna happen? Start popping up. These new guys that are willing. Can I finish, CRU? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
And that's what I'm seeing, because even the World Economic Forum said the medical costs can be cut by 80% with the technologies that they have right now. But the thing is,
but this is where the government is being disingenuous with the masses. The reason why these other countries are able to cut costs is because they limit access to certain demographics. People who are not contributing to the pot, their access to healthcare is limited. And you have to be able, there has to be a societal change, a change in culture that says, okay, we accept the fact that we can't save everybody.
The thing is, okay, who are the people that you can't save that are problematic?
The people in North Dakota.
No. Like who?
Oh yes, Tony. I was gonna say the same exact thing.
Don't get him started, Tony. Don't get him started, Tony.
He kicked the goddamn chair.
Tony, I had him calm down. Tony, goddamn you! I had him calm down. You fucked it up. Sit your ass down, youngster.
Every time I go get my coffee,
apologize, Tony.
I see my same employees going to the river.
Apologize.
These damn Indians out of the goddamn river.
Indians in the
Hey, crew.
What are we talking about?
No, don't worry about it. Super Triz. Who are the patients that are disruptive that you're talking about?
Okay, now
who can't be saved?
This goes beyond disruptive patients.
Okay, who can't be saved?
Opioids.
Do you have a reference lab in your hospital?
Crew. Is your name Super Triz? Thank you, Super Triz. Answer the question. Go ahead, continue, man.
Okay, there's a lot of patients. It just depends on the diagnosis, what they're admitted for.
Give me an example. You don't have to say all of them.
Somebody with multi-system organ failure related to sepsis, right? Okay. So they have multiple system organ failure, but yet we're doing exorbitant measures to prolong their life, knowing that our efforts are in vain. Now, obviously, it's a sensitive topic for the family. Say, hey, we've done all we can do. They're not going to progress.
So what do you need to actually watch over these patients?
You got to let them go.
No. Say you weren't going to let them go, and you needed to take care of these patients. What would you need to take care of them?
Well, that's what we're doing now. We're keeping them in the ICU.
You in the ICU? What I'm saying is around the clock nurse, or that kind of shit, right?
Around the clock nurse. You need an intensivist, a specialized physician that specializes in critically ill patients. You're gonna need respiratory therapy. You're gonna need imaging services. It's a pharmacist services. And then when they code, you're gonna have to recruit resources from the entire department to save that patient's life every time they code, which happens frequently with critically ill patients.
So if you can say in 5 years you can offload that a lot of that stuff to AIs and automated systems and actually put them in a facility like a hospice that's outside of the hospital, What kind of technology would you need?
Well, the hospice is different. Hospice means that you're actually doing what's called palliative care. So that means that you're not going to try to prolong their life.
Okay, what I'm saying is, so say if it's a hospice or something like similar to that, that's outpatient, where you actually using technology that's not inside the hospital, but out there where these specific patients have the technology to actually care for them with AIs and automated systems. Is that possible?
Currently, no, because there's so many it's so dynamic, and it needs like there's too many variables. I should say that it's very dynamic. Like if you do this, then it's going to change this, and you can't just change one thing and expect to fix the situation. When you change one thing, you got to change several things. Like if you adjust their pressors, you may have to adjust their fluid volumes, and you adjust their fluid volumes, you got to look at their actual renal output. I mean, there's just so many things.
So if they're hooked up to, like say Albert can probably say, if they're hooked up to an AI and certain machines that are reading all this, and say you have a certain staff that's not a full hospital, but a certain staff just for that have 20 patients, but they're all hooked up to these particular systems that will alert you to what patient needs what and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? And
I see what you're saying, but the problem with that is when there is an emergency, like say for instance a code blue or a code BART, then you need staff that can actually respond. If you're understaffed your facility because you're utilizing AI, you only have 3 physical people. It's hard to run a code with 3 physical people.
What I'm saying is you wouldn't have 3 physical people. Say if you have 20 physical people. That doesn't, because a hospital is more than just 20 physical people. You have all this infrastructure that you have to maintain.
Yeah.
What if go ahead.
What happens when you have the robots that are able to deal with the code or be able to do the surgery, or respond to the incident to stabilize you?
The code, like to actually run a code. We're talking androids. We're not just talking about AI. We're talking about advanced androids.
They have telemedicine already, where they're able to, cut you open, sew you up, pull parts out.
Yeah,
so
why would you need an anatomical human to do something like that?
That's exactly what I'm asking. And
you need something.
You're talking about.
No. Go ahead. Let me finish, Albert.
You'll need something with articulating parts and artificial intelligence to run a code, because it's dynamic. A code is not like just basically an algorithm. Sometimes you have to operate outside of an algorithm. This is the reason why the human component is so crucial right now in the codes, especially when you're talking about somebody who's critically ill.
Well, okay. Say a doctor notices a symptom, right? Okay, he has to go by his experience of what he's seen over the past number of years, right?
Facts.
Okay, an AI system is just that, a system. It's not one AI. So in other words, and Albert probably can tell you, say you have 10 AIs in a system that specialize in a certain procedure, right? They know everything about in their limited sphere, right? If they don't know something, they pass it on to another and another till the problem gets answered, right?
Yes.
And then the AI said, okay, I recognize this. This is what you do. They look it up. This is the procedure that you do. We need to inject this, that, another, or we need trained personnel to actually come in and actually handle this. Okay, 90% of the time when you're taking care of a patient, it's not an emergency, right? It's just maintenance, right?
Routine.
Maintenance, yeah.
Routine. Yeah, it's routine. What percentage of the time do you need a code team to actually look at one of these patients?
Maybe 5% of the time.
5%. The other 95%, he's just lying there.
Yeah.
So in other words, you can have a staff of 20 to take care of the 5% that actually need that kind of help, right?
Well, actually, it's less than 5% once you're outside of the ICU. So you really don't. The actual staffing needs will be significantly less the further away from critical care you.
Yeah. And this is what and I trust what Mr. Research says, okay, because he does medical billing. So he sees the cost come in. He said 70% of medical costs is not that. He said 70% of medical costs is people coming in with sniffles.
Yeah. Because Because
Go ahead.
most of your costs in the hospital, most of your reimbursement comes from the first 3 days. So your actual visit through the ER is where a majority of your actual revenue is recouped through ER services.
And in other words, if he said if you could reduce the amount of people coming in for routine visits into the hospital, you can reduce one, infrastructure, staffing, and all the other shit that actually goes along with the hospital, because it's for coming in for visits into the hospital, you can reduce one. Infrastructure, staffing. I'm hearing myself.
I think that online dating is dead.
Okay. Okay. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm hearing an echo. I'm a mute.
You can even do preventive care as well. Like you get.
That's what the other countries do, Tony.
Yeah,
that's
like a certain.
That's the difference between America and some of these other countries is that people will come to the ER because they got a tummy ache.
Mm-hmm.
No, really, you're laughing, but this is what they do.
I know, and saying is, and that's where most of the cost will be reduced. Go ahead, Albert.
Is the disruptive technology that are in the weights, So you got a tummy ache. Just think in the next few months, they're releasing systems that are going to be able to prescribe you drugs over the cell phone. Mm-hmm. They've already got that in certain countries now. You say that's not a big deal, and not a lot of people are going to do that. But I put in that as it becomes more convenient for you to be able to go to that telemedicine doctor and get these things situated and get your drugs situated over the phone and with the delivery service. Just imagine, okay, I have a kid that has diarrhea. At one point in time, I might have gone to the doctor for that. I pull up the app on my phone, say, okay, this kid has diarrhea, got squirts. Okay, we're going to give him some Imodium. It gets dropped off by the Amazon drone that day, as opposed to me having to take the kid out the house, sit in the waiting room, and do all the stuff that would traditionally have to have happened. You're able to, self-diagnose in the future in a way that is not common right now. So that's what 40% of your
and I will start with because they're already doing that in the UK right now. I will start with the AI, and if AI can't take care of it, then they have a nurse practitioner or a doctor get on the line and actually ask you questions. And if it needs you elevated, you go to like an offsite clinic that's not a hospital. They get the doctor in the box. They hook you up in the vest. They take your vitals, your temperature, your EKG, whatever, and they send it to the doctor that's presiding over your case. He looks at it, says, "Okay, this looks serious. Let's bring him to the hospital." Will actually cut out like 80% of the people that need to come in.
Yes, it's worse than that. It's worse than that. And I'm telling you, dog, they have like the heart monitors, the blood pressure thing, all of that, and they hook up to an app on your phone.
Yeah, they actually showed it in the video where he has they call it doctor in a box, where you have all these little things and a little vest and EKG and all that kind of stuff that takes all your little vitals that a normal nurse or a doctor would do. Right there. Go ahead. One time.
BGS, and you diagnose me with my heartbeat, with my blood pressure, with my, you know what I mean? Like that's what the doctors are doing at my job.
Yeah, that's that.
Job.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is they're already using the disruptive technology.
It's there, but the thing is, it's not widespread. But I think it's coming. I think this is the first step with them, sort of like deregulating the hospitals.
Well, there's a deregulation of the hospitals will force, because you have a lot of the bigger facilities, believe it or not, are some of the cheaper facilities, because they want to adopt new technology because of the actual capital investment costs related to adopting some of the new technology. So that's the reason why they still have some of the old technologies that require actual labor force to operate. Whereas some of the new like automated technologies, maybe you can downsize.
One of the bigger technology, one of the bigger.
Say it again.
I'm at one of the bigger places.
Okay.
Yeah, well, because of what is it? Was it
There's only two doctors
economy of scale?
God damn it! I'm at one of the bigger places.
Yeah, we call it economy of scale. But the thing is, what happens when technology, it always gets what? As the time
Smaller,
goes-
cheaper, and
smaller
faster.
and cheaper, smaller, cheaper, and faster. So what's expensive now won't be expensive. Like I can tell you, in when I went to Comdex in 1998, well, a 50-inch flat screen cost you $30,000. What does it cost now?